I feel retarded. That sugar thing, I've been off the sugar. And first couple of days I felt really pissed off and mad. And then I felt really good. But I think, because I'm dropping back on the caffeine too. Like, big time. And, yeah, it's, I just trying to adjust. So my sleeping's all over the place. It always is. You know, like many of us, we have that end time sleep thing going on. Where, like, you know, might stay awake a couple days and sleep on the second or third day. That's kind of what I have going on. It's fine though. But like, I didn't post anything for the past few days because the stuff I've been making, it just sounds retarded because I'm like kind of loopy. Because this whole, you know, sugar thing. I did a video on, like, for 20 minutes trying to talk about how thought forms are used and their relationship to magic and what we can just do ourselves as energy beings. And it just convoluted. You know, I'm listening to it back, like when I'm editing it, I'm just like, I can't, this sounds crazy. But I bet if I watch some of the older videos, which I don't really ever, I mean, why? I'd probably think most of them sound crazy too. I don't know. You know, it doesn't matter. When I leave the house, I'm going to start to, okay, let me try to go then. You see there's no one out here, right? And yet, I have trouble, like, I try to stay away from people, and they keep getting near me, and we're all going the same way. Me and the 3 people out here are moving together. But, yeah, basically thought forms are constructs, are things that is when you exert your will and intent onto the ether, so that it will then have a effect here on the 3D, in the 3D realm. Let's look at the ocean for a minute. Try to get some people away from us. Yeah, it's funny because this is constructs or thought forms are something that had existed in magic practices. Whoa, almost dropped the phone. For a long time. You know, you'll hear them in all these different magical schools. They talk about it, or magic, not schools, but forms of magic, whatever. OTO, Theta, Beta, Gamma, Crowley, magic with the K. Thought forms is a big part of really every kind of magical practice. Whether it's, I mean, it's even used in ritual magic or ceremonial as well, where you imagine something that you want to have take effect here on the 3D. I'll dig out my my diagram with 3D, man, and show you what's happening. Where we're broadcasting from to these bodies is our home place. Wherever our home is, I think it's the 5th dimension. Others say it's the 6th or 7th. I don't know, but it's some place where our origin point is. Now, this is in the diagram I'm probably showing you with the 3D man. This is the screen. Everything that happens with thought forms is happening in the beam, which is like the thing being projected. You can see it. I don't have to explain it. So what you want to do is to have something have an action on the 3D. You have to create it in the beam, in the ether. And what that does is the more you can conceptualize it, the more detail you can give it, your thought form, the more power or energy or effect it'll have here on the 3D. Already this sounds like the same thing I did. I'm going to turn this whole video around, and it's going to be great. I'm just going to get my bearings together. But yeah, in the video I was telling a story about how there was a blockage behind my house in a creek, or waterway, whatever the fuck it was. And whatever you call it. And sometimes when it would rain really heavy, I'd get worried that it was flood. And living in New England, blah, 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 I always lived somewhere where it was in like the flood zone for some reason, just how it worked out. And I was always afraid that the water would come into the house, because oftentimes it would in these different places I lived. So there was this blockage in the creek, but it wasn't one piece. There was debris floating from a rainstorm, and it was making the water build up. So, and this is just an example of what I mean. What I did is, in my mind, I envisioned a machine, or like a boat with like big cutters on it. I just devised this sort of Jack Kirby-esque kind of machine in my mind that would be on the water chopping up the debris so that it would flow better, with the hopes that maybe it would keep it from overflowing and flooding. So when you do something like this, you want to kind of envision the thing as good as you can, with as much detail as you can. It doesn't have to have any real world application. You can make this up. This is all your imagination. As I said all the time, that imagination is the back end of reality, as far as like using computer terms, which I don't like to do, because some people think we're in a simulation when we're not. There may be some simulated aspects to this reality, but you're not a simulation. They want you to think you are, though, but you're not. So what I did is I envisioned this sort of a machine that would float like a boat on the creek, and it would eat up the debris. I'll chop it up. It had blades on it. It had like a wood chipper attached to it. I just made this wild kind of machine that was like a boat. It had no driver though. It ran automatically. You can get as wild as you want, you know, and you don't really even have to know how it would work in a real world application. It doesn't matter. The limit is your imagination. And then what I did is I put it on the water in my mind, and I said, this is just gonna stay in the creek all night and just roll and just drive around and chop shit up. That leads into something I call running in the background. A lot of times I do it with shielding or other magic stuff, and I'm just using the word magic. This is all stuff you can do yourself as an energy being. You create reality with your thoughts, with your intent, and mostly your imagination. So the idea was I leave this boat on the water, and it's going to run in the background like a computer program would, where it's going to just keep chopping up debris in the water. And my will and my intent, my imagination of that happening is then, the intention is for it to have an effect on the 3D, on the screen here, and it would clear out the debris, the Duke. So we clear it out so it wouldn't flood. That's just an example. And anyway, the next day, I got up and it had cleared itself out. It worked. Now, did my thought form have anything to do with it? I don't know. But that's just an example of how thought forms work, or what you can use them for. You can use them for anything. Um, the idea is to have, is something you imagine having an effect on the 3D. Now, in my mind, the more detail you can put into it, even make it as complex as you want. And again, it doesn't have to have real world application. You're the architect, not the builder, okay? So whatever machine or idea, it doesn't have to be a machine, but whatever complex thought form you have, you don't even have to know how it works. You just have to see it working in your mind. You're the architect, not the builder. The mechanical aspects of it, you don't worry about. I just have a boat that floats on the water. It doesn't have a driver. And it's going to troll around all night and chop the wood. And then the idea is, you know, it doesn't flood as this goes all night. Now, running in the background, that's what I would call that construct. That's something people do with shielding. Now, as far as shielding goes, someone that's really good with shielding is Regan Keeley, who I mention on the channel occasionally. And I always put an angelic picture of her because she always looks like she's broadcasting from heaven. It's funny. But she's really good at explaining how shielding works. Now for me, I usually have like two main ones going. One is spiritual protection, one is like a kinetic kind of protection, like just a regular from people coming into my area. And they're different colors. You can have them be whatever color you want. However, you want to stay consistent with your color choice. Like for like a kinetic shielding, I'll put up to keep people from, you know, bumping into me, walking into me, or harming me anymore. And they're always blue. The spiritual one first feels like, and it, I can talk, I know I can. Just pull it together. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good video. The spiritual one is yellow, and healing is always green. Healing is a color that I use for healing, and I make healing shields with that as well. I primarily use those three different shields. And I remember Regan saying one time that she had like 9 or 11. 9/11. Illuminati confirmed. And I got really jealous. I got shield envy. Like, how does she have why does she have that many shields? I only have 3. I never got down to exactly what each one does or why she has them, but she explains it really well. And as far as how you can tap into the earth to increase your energy when making these shields or when healing. The earth is, I was talking yesterday, I did a video down at the park. And when your bare feet touch this terra firma, it creates like a circuit. It makes a circuit. You get power from the earth. The earth, energy from the earth. Wow, these guys fucking scare me. I never know where they're going. All I'm gonna do is go over here and just fucking hide from it. Yeah, the fucking garbage men. They're fucking crazy. Because like, they zoom in and out of these places. And I know they're on gear. A lot of them, you know. Because the time they do the shit. And every once in a while, one will like have a meltdown and freak out. Happens here a couple times in the morning of doing this, and one guy had a meltdown. Cops had to chase him all around here until they caught him. Some mornings you see them just joyriding, like because they fucking lost it or something, too much gear. But anyway, they zoom around in and out of these buildings, and they don't really see people. You know, not super aware, because a lot of people though that work here, not just that job, but every kind of job, it's so expensive to live here. And people that have like families need to work like constantly just to survive. So gear is a lot more used by all walks of life than you would imagine. It's not just like street people. Professionals use that shit. I told a story one time going downtown with a friend of mine. The building that he is a doctor in, he went upstairs to see a guy. I don't want to say what he works in, but he had an office up there. And we're just hanging out talking, and he's talking to his old friend of his. And he pulls out this coal wood box with a pipe in it and just starts fucking smoking. In the middle of the day, you know? And we left, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? He goes, yeah, a lot of people do that, you know? And then there was this other guy that did the same thing, who was like a yard worker, like a, what do you call it? I don't want to say construction, but not the, oh my God. You know what I mean? The guys drive the trucks, they work on fucking yards and shit. I can't think of what it is, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like common. You know, a lot of people take that to be able to deal with some of these punishing hours, like professionals and blue collar guys you'd never imagine. So I'm pretty sure the garbage men are always fucking tweaked out. Because yeah, there was 2 times. One made the papers, the other one didn't. Where, like sometimes when I've seen them outside of these 2 times, when they're done doing the garbage, or while they're doing the garbage around here, they just kind of freak out and just start driving around crazy. Me and Nia were coming up here one morning when she used to work up here, and one guy was having a meltdown that way. He kept driving by and waving to us all crazy. They just like go into psychosis sometimes if you do too much of that shit. Like meth, it's real bad. If you're on a bender for too long, you end up having some sort of psychosis, and you have a breakdown. And those dudes, like, they fly around in those things. And there's usually like one guy doing a big truck, another smaller truck moving the fucking bins, what the fuck's it called? Dumpsters. And then there's sometimes a satellite guy that's in a smaller truck that's just sort of like riding around between them both. It's like a circus. So whenever I see them on my street or anywhere I am, I get the fuck away from them, because I know they're all nuts. They drive super fast because they're probably under pressure, you know, to get all the shit done before a place is open. I'm not being judgmental of these dudes. You know, they got to do what they got to do. And it's sad that, you know, people snap sometimes from that. But, yeah, so anyway, the cops had to chase them around the streets. And, yeah, one of them ended up in the paper. Another one that I watched happen, I didn't see anything about it. Maybe it did end up in the paper. I didn't see it. Oh, the news, the paper was fuck. 1777. But, yeah, so when I see them, I get the fuck away from them. But anyway, yeah, thought forms. That's basically what it is. And this is something that usually you'd only hear about in magical practices. Only in the past, I guess, 10 years, when people started having these spiritual awakenings, where they realize that there is a spiritual realm, and that they do have divine energy or divine power. There is a God. There is some kind of struggle. It's a metaphysical struggle that's happening between good and evil, and you can't see it, but you can feel it. And I know a lot of you know that, but the once you understand that, once you kind of have come into that world, the understanding that that's happening, you'll start to develop sometimes what would be abilities. We've done videos on that too. We call it, people call it God powers, where they just suddenly can do things they couldn't do before, or have premonitions about stuff, or almost like psychic abilities. And they're not supernatural abilities, they're natural abilities. These are things you can do because you're just an energy being. You are pure energy broadcasting to these suits that are these bodies, which are really just suits, like antennas. And in that way, when you're in your true form, you can do a lot of stuff that would seem supernatural. They don't want you to realize this or remember this, or remember what you are. And that's why the world is the way it is, where it's just a 24-hour play or movie going on around you, where people, they're literally actors. And I don't mean like I'm using literally correctly. It's an actor-based reality, as my friend Aaron would say. And that's what it is, because they have to have this very elaborate show going on around you all the time to keep you from having a moment to remember what you are and to know what you can do. Because if you did, you know, this place would be over for them. They wouldn't be able to suck your energy anymore. So they have to keep that from you. They have to constantly be trying to distract you, you know, all the time, 24/7, every day, you know. And that's what it is. I mean, anytime you see anything on a screen, and I'm not saying like the people next door to you or whatever are actors. I mean, some might be, but anything you're gonna see on a screen, anyone that has any sort of attention from anyone, whether it's TV or even YouTube or the social media or the media, the major players, and even the mid-tier players are people playing a role. They're not who they say they are. They're actors. I know it sounds very schizophrenic, but the good-looking ones go to Hollywood. The ugly ones go to politics, and the real weirdos go to religion. But they're all doing the same thing. They're all playing a role. Like Bill Gates is not. He's playing the part of Bill Gates. They have to do this. That's how this place runs. An actor-based reality. That's what's going on. Because they know you can do stuff like use thought forms. They know that your thoughts can change reality. They know all kinds of things you don't. And they can't afford to let you know. Because if you learn this stuff and are able to, God forbid for them, apply it, it's fucking over for them. It's over for them. I'll get more into it in a little bit. I just gotta go and get a Google card here at launch. I'll be back shortly. But until then, don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.